So, hello there and welcome back to Strathpeffer Junction. Today we have a bit of a different video to normal and probably one that a lot of people have been, if not looking forward to, at least waiting for a while. We have, with the sunny weather that we've had here up in the Highlands of Scotland, we have managed to get a little bit of work done on the layout itself up in the loft. And as you can see here from the camera, we have been able to do some work on the baseboards and on the framework for the layout. Now I'll give a few wee shots here just hopefully to show you what we've been up to. This is, if anybody can remember back to the video that we did on initial ideas for Strathpeffer Junction. This is up to fiddle level or fiddle yard level. And the idea had been to have an entire sort of fiddle yard area right underneath, and then above that would be the layout proper. Now that's how I have built it so far. The layout has been built so that it's a sitting layout. Because of the coombs that we have here in the attic room, they're actually quite severe, and it means that if it was built standing up, then the amount of space that would be left for actually building the scenic area of the layout would be absolutely tiny. So I built it so that I can be sitting down when operating or building it as well. And I'll come on to some pre-recorded footage in due course, so you can see the seat that I'll be using and all the rest. But anyway, this is what we've been up to. Now, as I say, it was designed to be sitting down, but also to maximise the scenic area. Really, the fiddle yard, the depth between the fiddle yard and the scenic area would have to be really pretty small. Now, it isn't ideal. Normally you would want to have a good distance between it. I think I'd been aiming for about 18 centimetres, 180 mil, which is not a huge amount, to be honest. But I thought it'd probably be all right. But now that I've actually built it, I'm having possibly some second thoughts about how best to go about doing this. Maybe just having a fiddle yard on one area, which is perhaps the lowest level, like for example, maybe along this wall here, where I could get some really long sidings and have some full length HSTs and so on, or maybe not full length, but certainly long ones. And then maybe on the other side over here, slightly higher than the level which is actually shown here on the framework would be maybe the main scenic area on one side, and that could then have a ramp or a decline going down to the fiddle yard on this side, and perhaps another one maybe double tracked going up slightly higher, and then on this side also having a slightly higher scenic area. It's maybe not that clear from how I'm describing it, and it's kind of all just thoughts in my head anyway at the moment, so it's very much subject to change, but I'm kind of toying with that. But then the original idea was to have a sort of low level down here, fiddle yard, and the same on the other side over here, a kind of low level fiddle yard. And I might still do that. I think what I'll probably do is get in some timber and space it out a bit and just play with levels and see what's going to work best for me sitting down. Now also, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I've got a really bad back and I can't sit up for long, and I can stand up for even less time, and I can't bend down and I can't bend over. So it needs to be built for my disability, if that's the right way to put it. So I definitely need to make sure that I minimise any bending and any need to stand or stretch and all these things. So there's quite a few things to juggle anyway. I had originally wanted to put a station over in this area here, which would be Strathpeffer Junction Station, probably drawing on Dingwall Station slightly with a bit of artistic license if anybody remembers that or knows that. I then thought, well, maybe I could have a town area or maybe a TMD area slightly higher up over here. On this side here, maybe a kind of almost like a Highland main line feel to it, and then behind me where I'm sitting, which is kind of a duplicate to what we have over there, on that side, maybe I could have something like an oil siding, that kind of thing. I was also keen to get in a branch line as well, which would not be a massive branch line. It would really be something that spurs off from Strathpeffer Junction and maybe follows in a kind of curve here and then drops down, maybe even being the route into the Fiddle Yard, or a route into the Fiddle Yard. So there's quite a few ideas I've got going round in my head, and I'm going to try and put pen to paper, use any rail, and SketchUp as well, just to get a few ideas now that the framing is here, now that I can make a kind of better sense of the space I've got to play with. And I'll feature that probably in the next video actually. But anyway, I just wanted to show you all where I've got to. We've got all the plywood. It's 12-inch ply down here, which is cut for certainly for the Fiddle Yard level. What I was planning to do for the higher levels was to have a kind of frame that is built off the Fiddle Yard level, so it's not all just one sort of pavement of plywood, that the plywood is only there for the track bed areas, and then use something much lighter for the scenic areas that don't need to be so rigid for the track. So those are the ideas for that anyway. Just also to show you here, I don't know how we'll be able to see, but I have a network connection in there. I was really fortunate when we extended our house a few years ago. It enabled me to put in some network cable. So I actually have that running all the way back to the router. So I should be able to get some internet up here, as well as I use a Z21 system, as well as hooking it all up to that. So I've got quite a lot of ideas for the electronic side of it, you know, occupancy detection, different power districts and all that kind of stuff as well. And I'm a bit of a techno geek, if you hadn't picked that up already from a lot of the Strathpeffer Junction videos so far. So there's definitely going to be a bit of technology involved in this particular layout as well. Anyway, I'll stop waffling on for now. I just wanted to, as I say, let you to see you know, what I'm at, where I've got to, that progress has now been made, and I'm feeling pretty stoked for it. You know, there's been a lot of technological videos to date because I've not been able to get much done on the loft layout here, but now that we've got some stuff screwed into the wall and some wood cut and various other things, I'm feeling really pretty up for it. So hopefully over the next few months I'll be able to make some good progress. Just before I go, I just wanted to obviously show there is a window here which will be good for the summer months as we're getting into it, and also just to get some ventilation in. But also on the lighting as well, there's quite a few videos and various other things talking about different lighting for loft layouts or railway layouts, model railway layouts in general. And what I've opted for is a kind of two system setup. So I have incandescent lights. I've got vision issues, so I can't have too much in the way of LED, but I've got incandescent lights, the kind of daytime running lights, you know, just for playing with the railway, modelling and so on. But what I've also put in here, and hopefully we'll be able to see there, is some daylight strip lights. And I've got one above the layout there, and I've got one right above where I'm sitting just now. And I put in for if I'm taking photos of the layout, or if I'm recording the videos, or if I am doing some detail work that I need a lot more lighting in, that it'll give me another option to get more light in, good bright light, and also quite neutral light. So hopefully it'll work. If it doesn't, well, I can always try something else as when I get to it. Anyway, right, I will shut up now with the kind of ad hoc blurb. I have taken a little bit of footage throughout the build so far, so I'm going to run that, and I'll probably do a wee bit of a voiceover as well, just to explain some of the things that I was doing, some of the thoughts I was having at the time. And in particular as well, I used pocket hole joinery to build this layout. I found it, you know, it's not exactly skilled joinery or carpentry. It isn't necessarily absolute strongest method if you wanted to do something that's really going to be massively weight bearing, you know, in a workshop or in a house. But for using for this kind of framework, it's absolutely fine. I use screws and glue, but it also means it's really easy to line up joints flat. And also, you know, to do things just one person. And because I can't lift all the heavy stuff, my wife, bless her, has been doing most of the kind of really manual work. So it's enabled her to clamp things, and I can point and direct and all that kind of stuff. So I'll look at some of the pocket hole joinery stuff that I was doing, and how you go about using it if you haven't used it before, and also just talk you through a few of the things that I was doing or thinking about as we were progressing the build. So without any further ado and no more waffling, let's get on to the footage of the build so far. Okay, so here we are in the attic room and the to the train sign, which I couldn't resist buying, and I'll pop up somewhere suitable in due course. So the loft room, as I've covered in an early video, it's a reasonable space, but it's not absolutely huge. It has been insulated and plasterboarded and floored out, so it's ideal really to build a temperature controlled motor railway in. We started off by bunging all the key tools up into the loft space and then hopping out to the garage outside as well to chop up all the wood into the right shapes. Initially we quickly measured the distances, the lengths for the key timbers, and then we used the sliding saw, not the sliding saw, the track saw, to cut things the right length, as well as a chop saw as well. So once we had all of the timbers the right length, we used pocket hole joinery, as I said before. And if you haven't seen this, it uses this device that you clamp the wood in, to enable you to drill holes into the middle of the ends of the wood, as we're seeing my beautiful assistant do here, and then that enables you to screw screws in and hold the timber really tight internally. It's best, here's the holes that it leaves. It's best to screw and glue, I tend to find, with pocket hole joinery. Anyway, once we'd got all the timber ready, we got it up to the stairs, and with my back being bad, my wife hiked it up into the attic room for me, and then we began to lay it out, just to get a rough idea of where everything was going to sit and make sure that lengths were how we expect them to be. And once we did that, we fixed the first bit of timber up. We did one of the gable ends first, so that we could get that exactly level and really use that as a kind of a datum point for the rest of the timber. And once we got that in place, we used string lines and spirit levels, good old spirit levels, to get the next one done. I had thought about using my laser level, but because of the size restrictions in there, it's actually proven quite hard to get a good line. But not to worry, we did get a good level line, and we managed to extend the wood down one side, and glued and screwed that join there, just going out of picture on the left, and that took us all the way along to the other end here, and that's when we found that we'd actually measured this one about a centimetre too short. So I had to get a couple of bits of was it MDF, 3mm MDF, glue them together and glue it on the end just to fill that span, and anyway, it did fine. We got that up onto the wall in the corner, and that enabled us to move on to the other gable. By this stage, we'd worked out that actually there was a runoff of about 10mm on the floor, that the trusses must be out slightly. But we conquered that, and we moved on to the next gable, and then there was more. And yeah, there was a lot of that. So then once that one was in place, we moved on to the final wall and got the final batten in. This one's a bit more of a challenge because of the runoff. Despite our best effort, there was a very slight discrepancy. I guess that's just because the bubble in a level isn't exact. But anyway, we got there in the end, and it was looking really pretty good, and taking level measurements across corners and so on. I think it's going to provide a pretty good basis for the level. For the layout being level rather, and then there was just one final in piece here that we had to glue and screw into place, but that was it. And of course Katie, our little helper, she came just to inspect everything. She was checking level and checking the measurements. Always interested. Gonna have to find a way to stop her and her two siblings from getting into the room once the actual models are in place. But anyway, it did pass the inspection. She gave it a tail up, and went on back outside to play. So once we'd got the outside sections of the wall all done, or the battens all done rather, along the walls, we started gluing and screwing all of the actual framing elements for the baseboards to lie on, and there, as you can see, the uprights. We used, as I say, pocket hole joiner again. It uses these special screws which are really sharp at the end, but they bite down, and a special screwdriver bit which is really long in the drill just to fit in. You need to use a fairly decent bit of wood glue for this. I use this Type Bond 2, which I use for general joinery, but it dries pretty quickly. And these clamps, now these are the other special thing with pocket hole joinery. The clamps, they manage to hold the wood in exactly the right place, so you can get really flush joints, a wee bit like this. And because the plain timber I was using wasn't entirely true, there was tolerance issues. I had to use padding like this, or spacers or shims. But anyway, we've got there in the end, and I'm really pretty pleased with the results. And this is what we're at now, just about. So we've got the base board level for the Fiddle Yard, possibly Fiddle Yard down. A few cross battens and so on to go in yet, but we also have the plywood all cut to size for this level, because once this level is in place, getting big sheets of ply up through that loft is going to be a problem. So we've cut as many as we can. Anyway, that's pretty much where we're at now. Just checking levels there in that particular video, you can see, and I surprised myself by us actually being pretty much on the level. And I think we'll just be finishing here with probably another final view of the level. Yep, that's where we're at. Okay, so one thing I just want to mention is I know a lot of people talk about kind of heat and cold and contraction and expansion and all the things that are really bad for, you know, model railways, particularly in lofts and garages. Now, when as well as insulating the loft when we got it fitted out, I put in this little wireless remote just onto two kind of space heaters, these tubular heaters. The wireless remote connects to an app on my phone, and it allows me to program and control the heating from anywhere in the house, or anywhere in the world actually, I think, if I set it up like that, which means that I can really customize the heating up here and make sure that I'm trying to keep it at a fairly constant, but not too cold, not too hot. So I have a window so that I can let air in and get some ventilation. But that timer is excellent. You know, if it's a really cold night, if I'm downstairs watching TV or reading a book, I can just hit the app and it'll switch the heating on. So definitely something to consider. Okay, right. Well, hopefully it didn't go on too long, and hopefully there was something in all of that you could get your teeth into enjoy. I thought I would just sign off from this particular video, just providing a view from the other side so you can see where I've got to, and the wee chair that I was talking about there. And all the tools and other bits of detritus that generally hang about when you're building a layout. And there are some more support legs to go in, and there's definitely some more supports to go in between all these bits and pieces that are in place already. But this is really the main framing, the chunky framing, and the other stuff that's to go in will be smaller, lighter weight wood, just to keep the weight down in the loft. But I was lucky when we built the extension. I thought I might do a layout, so we did get and put in attic trusses, so it has been designed to be a room, which is one worry I don't need to worry about. But anyway, there we go. That's just one quick view there again of what's happening up here, and I'll be back hopefully in the not too distant future with an update and a kind of progress on my thoughts as much as anything else. But in the meantime, if you've got any thoughts yourself, any of you guys have been modelling loads, if you think that I'd be mad to try and get a Fiddle Yard underneath and then a scenic area above, or if you think that's a great idea, if you think there's maybe another way to go about doing it, maybe just sacrifice one side or one end, maybe over there, something for Fiddle Yard, and have the rest scenic. I'm sure there's different ways to do it, so I'd really welcome all your thoughts from those of you who've already done layouts, have done multiple layouts, or even at the same stage as me, but are maybe approaching it in a different way. So anyway, thanks very much for watching. I'll be back soon, and please do like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done that. But for now, cheerio for now, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.